The land explored by our ancestors extends from the Altai to the White Sea. The scientific expedition Trails of Nomads continues to unveil the path of our forefathers. A group of scientists led by pilgrim of the 21st century Sapar Iskakov has already visited more than 40 countries. Scientists reveal the exciting secrets of the past. Watch an amazing story of a great journey in the Trails of Nomads program. Today's Trails of Nomads episode presents Construction Without Foundation. How's the Mausoleum of Khoja Ahmed Yasawi preserved to this day? The first university of the world appeared in Sauran. What documents indicate this? Ancient Otyrar existed for another 5 years after Genghis Khan's raid. What was the reason for its disappearance? Since ancient times, Turkestan, previously named Turan, was the birthplace of all Turks. Kazakh poet Magjan Jumabayev glorified this wonderful land with a rich history. He noted that Turan is a kind of a call that is able to unite all the Turks. The geography of their resettlement is huge, from the Balkan Peninsula to the Pacific Ocean, from the Ural Mountains to the Middle East. Obtaining the status of regional center by Turkestan was a significant event. On the one hand, this is the revival of the historical region. On the other, it is a platform for the rapprochement of all the Turkic peoples. This glorious land became next stop for the members of the Trails of Nomads scientific expedition. Turkestan is associated with the name of Khoja Ahmed Yasawi, an eminent thinker who lived in the 12th century. Was born in the city of Sauran. His parents were buried there, father Ibrahim and mother Karashash. At that time, Sauran was called Ipijam and was a religious center. Here, Khoja Ahmed Yasawi got inspiration for learning. According to the legend, before his death, Ahmed's parents put their son on a camel and instructed him, "You will live at the place where the camel will stop." As a result, the camel came to Iasi, that is, present-day Turkestan. Since then, the fate of Khoja Ahmed Yasawi has been inextricably linked with this city.
Khoja
Ahmed Yasawi is the only person from Central Asia who has practically reached the level of a prophet in religion. This was appreciated by the ruler Tamerlan. By his order, a magnificent mausoleum was erected at the place of burial of the scientist.
Khoja Ahmed Yasawi is the spiritual teacher for all Turks who professed Islam.
He devoted his whole life to the service of the Most High. He wrote a lot of works that have become a tool for the younger generations and humanity as a whole. The ancient manuscript in the Turkic language, Diwani Hikmet, is one of the books. It consists of 150 verses that promote knowledge and spiritual and moral education. Unfortunately, the original of this work in the Turkic language has not been preserved. Only a version published in Arabic in the 15th century has survived. According to some scholars, Khoja Ahmed Yasawi wrote his brilliant book under the ground. Reaching the age of the Prophet, 63 years old, he went down to the underground cell where he spent the rest of his life. This is a well. Here is the descent, a ladder that leads into the underground cell. It is located at a depth of 4 meters. Here Ahmed Yasawi spent his last days in prayers and abandoning earthly blessings. According to the book Diwani Hikmet, he lived another 62 years underground. Presumably, at the age of 125, he died. The image of Khoja Ahmed Yasawi as a person who has reached the highest degree of spiritual and moral development is of tremendous value for all of humanity. It is no coincidence that Emir Timur erected the magnificent mausoleum in honor of an outstanding thinker. The construction of the complex began in 1398. Emir himself designed the building and personally supervised the construction, but he did not live to see its completion. After the death of Timur in 1405, all work was suspended. Confirmation to this fact, scaffolding remaining on the outer walls of the mausoleum. Construction technology is extremely surprising. For example, the building has no foundation. Instead, there is a layer of clay 1.5 meters thick. In spite of its age, the building has been perfectly preserved. It has almost its original appearance. The mausoleum does not cease to admire. During the construction, Emir Timur ordered to cast a huge cauldron, which was installed in the center of the building. It symbolizes prosperity, peace, and harmony. Timur himself said these words, "May Allah protect the state on whose territory this holy mausoleum is located." Emir Timur, along with the construction of the mausoleum, paid great attention to its interior. 2 lamps and taikazan are especially valuable items. They were made in 1397 in the village of Karnak, which is located 17 kilometers from Turkestan. Taikazan weighs 2 tons, its volume is 3,000 liters. Alloys of even metals, iron, zinc, lead, tin, red copper, silver, and gold were used in its casting. This work of art has no analogues in the world. The very fact that it was cast on the Kazakh land speaks of a technological revolution which occurred here much earlier than in other parts of the world. Many are interested in Kazakh taikazan, which is a true medieval masterpiece. In 1935, Days of Iranian Masters were held in Hermitage. At that time, taikazan was taken to the exhibition. However, after the end of the event, taikazan remained in the Hermitage. It became one of the most valuable expatriates of the museum, so it stood there for 54 years. Only in 1989, thanks to a prominent figure of Kazakhstan who was also called the father of museum, Uzbek Ali Janibekov, taikazan was returned to its homeland. From the 14th to the 18th century, Turkestan was the capital of the Kazakh Khanate. At that time, the Khan's headquarters was located in the Khoja Ahmed Yasawi Mausoleum. The building had large and small white palaces, aksaray. They were intended for ceremonies. They hosted important state councils and ambassadors' receptions. In addition, the building had a library, a mosque, a room for various rituals. In total, the mausoleum had 30 rooms. There is an offset of some parts of the mausoleum. There are deviations of 1.5 meters. At that time, according to restoration, it was necessary to install piles of liquid concrete under each wall. A lot of human remains were found during the work. According to the documents, over 20 Kazakh Khans are buried here. Kazabek B, Bagenbay Batyr, Ablai Khan, and his son Kasim Khan. Their bones were reburied in Aksaray in 1999 at a depth of 4 meters with all honors. A well-known Kazakh Khan, Yasim, author of the Code of Laws, Yaski Joly, is buried in small Aksaray. Yasim Khan is a person who practically revived Turkestan. During his reign, the city of Iyasi was renamed to Turkestan and received the status of the capital of the Kazakh Khanate. Thus, the city was recognized in the international arena not only as a holy place, but also as a political and administrative center. With all these achievements, Yasim Khan was buried near the Khoja Ahmed Yasawi Mausoleum. The company to conquer cities along the Sirdarya started in the period of Qasim Khan, was continued by his son Haq Nazar, and completed by Tauke and Yasim Khans. All cities along the Sirdarya and the city of Tashkent for 200 years were part of the Kazakh Khanate. After the death of Yasim Khan, the burial of famous Kazakh personalities near the Khoja Ahmed Yasawi Mausoleum continued, so this place has become a pantheon. According to the latest data, over 350 people are buried here, 25 of which are Khans and Sultans, just as many bees and wise men, about 50 Batyrs, more than 60 other famous personalities of all the burials. Ablai Khan's tomb was subjected to a full investigation. He spent last days of his life on the coast of Aris and was the city of Khan Korgan. Shader Tor and Jahangul are among his descendants. They lived in Turkestan. One of them wrote about the pilgrimage of Ablai Khan. Only at the sight of the dome of the mausoleum, he got off his horse and walked 40 steps before the mausoleum. The Khan knelt and prayed with tears in his eyes. He bequeathed to bury him here. In 80 meters to the southwest of the Khoja Ahmed Yasawi Mausoleum, there is a bath. According to archaeologists, it was built in the 16th century for pilgrims. It worked until 1975. After a special resolution, it was closed and turned into a museum. Bath in no way inferior to modern ones. It has special rooms for massage and various wellness treatments. There were no doors in the bath between the rooms, with hot and cold air. Despite this, different temperatures remained in them. This is a unique structure. Bath half went underground. After Turkestan, participants of the expedition went further to the west, to the city of Sauran, which was considered a strategic fortress of Deshte Kipchak. The researchers stopped at a place called Sauran II, and the first is 5 to 6 kilometers away. It was located there from the 1st to the 6th century. Since the 6th century, the foundation had already been raised here and founded at that place. Here was the main gate. The lower part was composed of 82 rows of bricks. The upper part was made in the form of an arch. Down the bridge there is a road. All stone paths are preserved. Sauran, the medieval fortress town. In the 16th century, Khan Abdullah attempted to conquer it, however, to no avail. The historians who recorded this fact spoke of the incredible inaccessibility of the fortress. It is no coincidence that many medieval scholars refer to the city in their writings. In the 13th century, it was known as a frontier town, freed from the state tax haraj. In the 14th century, it became part of Akorda and received the status of the capital. We're surprised how a city that did not have natural water sources in the form of rivers and lakes right in the center had a huge fountain with an endless stream of water. At 6 to 7 kilometers from the city there is a place, Birtobe. According to archaeologists, Sauran occupies 44 hectares. This is a very large area for the medieval city. The population was about 11,000 people. The city was not only administrative, political, but also the religious center of the region. It had a great influence on the spread of Islam. Religious books, the location of the mosque and madrasa were discovered here during the excavations. In the madrasa, pupils learned 9 disciplines. This can be said the first university in Central Asia. Madrasa was built in the 12th century. On 2 sides it had 2 large minarets. The second similar madrasa is in Iran and stands to this day. And Sauran madrasa was destroyed during the raid of enemies. Only the place and fragments of the building and the elements of its infrastructure remained. The existing sewage system raises particular interest. The system is arranged in this way. There was a special opening for discharge. Under it was a huge vessel with a height of human height. From it, the water was absorbed in drops into the ground. Opposite the madrasa, there was a mosque. This is the first Eid mosque on the territory of the Great Steppe. According to archaeologists, such mosques were built near the graves of famous personalities. In Sauran, this custom is traceable. There are many graves near the mosque, but it has not yet been possible to establish who was buried there. After Sauran, the participants of the scientific expedition went to Otyrar. This is one of the most advanced cities of the Middle Ages, the biggest attraction of the Kazakh steppe. The fact that this is the place where the outstanding world-class scientist Abu Nasir al-Farabi was born and worked is saying a lot. In those days, Otyrar was also called Turarband, Turar, Tarband, Farab. At that time, there were few cities in Central Asia that could resist the army of Genghis Khan. Otyrar was one of them. The city had long opposed the enemy. The fortress city possessed an advanced defense system, was economically developed and independent, and therefore could exist autonomously. The city especially developed during the reign of Khair Khan. Baked bricks were used in the construction of the fortress. They were made both in Otyrar itself and in nearby Sauran. Manufacturing technology of such a building material suggests that this was one of the most advanced at that time. There were 3 entrances to the city. The lower part, the base of all the gates were lined with bricks. In addition, there were special rooms for the guard.
Қарауханалық қызметтерін атқарған бөлме орындары анықталды.
Otyrar is the oldest center of settled culture. A high level of production was developed here. For example, there were found milestones dating back to the 2nd century. That is, it speaks for the development already at that time of processing. People also manufactured materials, weapons, household items, and jewelry. Animal bones, metals, and glass were used for this.
Отырардың керамика күйдіретін шеберханасына келіп тұрмыз. Бұл жерде шеберханада көптеген бірнеше түрлі.
Now we are in the workshop of Otyrar, where earthenware was burned. Here we see the places where the kilns were. There was a very high temperature here.
Бұл жерде ең жоғарғы температурада күйдірілетін болған.
The complex system of the urban infrastructure of Otyrar speaks about the development of settled culture in the steppe. In the 11th century, the city was divided into several districts. Residential buildings consisted of 2 to 3 rooms, one of which was designed to store food. In each room, there were 10 doors for baking bread. There was also a special chimney and a chimney with access to the street. There was an oriental bath in Otyrar. Its floor was heated and tiled. Vessels which stored healing oils were found on the place of the bath. This testifies to the development of various areas of medicine. A cone-shaped burned vessel was found during the excavations. It looks like it poured special oils for medieval purposes. Otyrar, located on the Great Silk Road in the 13th century, turned into a large shopping center. It had its own mint. Tenge, issued in Otyrar, spread throughout Central Asia. And in the 14th century, during the reign of Genghis Khan, many mosques and madrasas were built. This is most likely due to the population growth. In the 16th century, another mosque was built. Archaeologists identified the exact place. In the courtyard of the mosque, there was a well with many small tanks around. There was found a place of the minaret of the mosque where the clergyman rose and read the Adhan, a call to prayer. A few fragments of the spiral staircase were revealed. The spiritual center of all in Central Asia, the city of Otyrar was destroyed in the 13th century. The army of Genghis Khan almost completely destroyed the city. Many scholars said that this event was the last in the history of the city. However, after that, Otyrar existed for another 5 centuries. According to scientists, the lack of water was the reason for the complete disappearance. A water pipeline from Sirdarya was stretched to Otyrar. However, for various reasons, due to interruptions in the supply of water to the city, the standard of living of residents deteriorated. After that, many left in search of a better place, and so the city became completely empty. The famous epic Alpamisbater tells about Otyrar as a place of concentration of religious minds, and it is the birthplace of more than 30 figures. But the most revered of all was, of course, Arslan Bab. Arslan Bab is the spiritual mentor and teacher of Khoja Ahmed Yasawi, an authoritative person for the entire Muslim world. He was born, lived, and worked in Otyrar, was engaged in teaching. The city was also the birthplace of another world-famous scientist, Abu Nasir al-Farabi, who wrote a large number of works on various sciences, including music theory. It is noteworthy that a wind clay musical instrument, which dates back to the 9th-10th centuries, was found in Otyrar, confirms the fact that Otyrar was one of the largest cultural and religious centers in the region.
Мынау тарихшылардың айтып кеткені, жазып кеткеніне қараған уақытта Отyrarда үлкен кітапхана болған.
According to historians, there was a large library in Otyrar. It was the second largest in the world after the famous library in Alexandria. We know that it was completely destroyed by a large fire. The same thing happened with the Otyrar library.
Ол да түгел өртенген, ондағы күлі кітаптар жанған. Сондай жағдайға Otyrarдағы кітапханада бастан кешті.
After Otyrar, members of the scientific expedition Trails of Nomads went along Sirdarya to Kizlorda. Numerous historical monuments of this region testify to the high development of urban culture. We will talk about all this in the next episode.